Every CEO's journey has its Everest. The moments when the path forward feels steep, uncertain, and alone. With Sherpa CEO coaching, you don't climb alone. Our experienced coaches are your guides, helping you break through barriers, sharpen your strategy, strengthen your leadership, and build a team that can carry you higher. With tailored one-on-one coaching, strategic planning, and real accountability, your summit is within reach. Sherpa CEO Coaching, your guide to confidence, clarity, and extraordinary business growth. Get coached and learn more at sherpaceo.com.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with your host, Dave Westcott. The Entrepreneurial Journey is a weekly podcast that streams live every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Dave's YouTube channel and LinkedIn profile. Now here's Dave with this week's episode.
Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott, and I have with me this morning special guest, Mark Miller, Managing Director, Hilton Family Office, President and CEO, Hilton Tax and Wealth Advisors. Good morning, Mark.
Well, good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me this morning.
Thank you for being on the show. I'm very excited to chat with you. You know, when I first looked at this, I said, Hilton Family Office, Hilton Tax Wealth. Is this Hilton Hotels?
Well, it's not. We are the financial side of the Hilton name. And so everybody knows Hilton the Hilton family doesn't own the Hilton Hotels anymore. They were actually sold off in 2008 to a firm called Blackstone, not BlackRock, but Blackstone is a competing firm to BlackRock. So, but we're the financial arm of, and obviously the Hiltons know a thing or two about making money. So we're just excited that we're growing that side tremendously as the years go on.
Now, that's very exciting. Now, you are the best-selling author of Hilton Wealth, How to Invest Like an American Dynasty. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I did that in conjunction with Brad Hilton, who is the grandson of Conrad Hilton, and he is my main partner. Conrad started the Hilton legacy, obviously, in the dynasty. And we put that book together just to help people get to understand the difference between how the wealthy invest compared to how kind of the average or more retail investor invests.
Yeah, that's a beautiful book. I haven't read it, but now I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna order it on Amazon. I'm gonna get it. So if you're out there listening, you got to get the book. Go to Amazon. It's on Amazon, right?
Yes, it is. And well, the best way to get it is we'll get it to you free. Just go to hiltonwealth.com and we'll send a complimentary copy out to whoever would like it and wants to get more information.
Well, that's a great grab for the show. If you're out there and you go to the website, you get the book for free. I'm going to do that this afternoon. So I guess a copy will be coming my way. I'm super excited about that. That's the big win for the day right there. So I love that. I love that you guys put the book together and you talk about how the wealthy invest versus how the normal person might invest. And that's very, very powerful. So how did this journey start 40 years ago? How did you get connected with these folks? How did this whole thing come to pass?
Gosh, yeah, and I've been in the financial industry for a long time. Mainly, I'm a business financial consultant. I got out of college, worked for that small little company called American Express. And cut my teeth with them and some various brokerage firms. And then I've published some nationally published books on personal finance in the 90s and had a large investment newsletter that was international. And then I got put together my own firm in the early 2000s. And throughout the process, I kind of got more and more relationships with the wealthiest of the wealthy and started to find out that they just invest totally different than what I was learning as, say, a regular broker, kind of cutting my teeth on the retail side of the business and working with retail clients. And through the process, met the Hiltons many, many years ago. They made me a lot of money. I made them a lot of money. And about 4 or 5 years ago, they came and asked me to be the director of the Hilton family office. And we've done that together. And the company that I formed also with Brad Hilton was a company called Hilton Tax and Wealth Advisors, which is more bringing these family office concepts a little bit more down to Main Street. And so we're excited about that because Brad and I both have a passion to kind of get the wisdom out there of the wealthiest investors to the average investor and just show them that it's such a better way to invest long term and such a better way to build wealth long term.
That's amazing. Just as we think about it, what is the number one thing that the ultra wealthy do different?
Well, I would say the number one thing is that they're not focused on returns all the time. Retail investors tend to be focused on returns. By the way, the retail side of the business plays on that. And they make a lot of money off of a great example I give to people is if you look at how do they sell mutual funds. Generally, they send everyone these flyers that here's the 1, 3, 5, 10-year performance. And the vast majority of people pick mutual funds based upon that. The wealthy look at safety and security first, more of a legacy type of play, as opposed to the returns. The returns are just going to be there if you're looking at quality investments, you're working with quality people in the financial industry. So it's more important to focus on less volatility, making sure that you're not going to be down 30 or 40% in your portfolio at any given time, and having a little bit smoother ride. When you have that smoother ride, you make better returns. So the number one thing is designing portfolios that first and foremost focused on safety, security, and minimize that downside pressure, and then you're going to get better returns longer term.
Well, that's really interesting. So they're not looking to jump into, I'm just going to make it up, but a Tesla stock and make $1 million overnight. They're looking at something that's going to make them $100,000 every year over and over and over again on a single stock. You know, something like that as an easy analogy. Obviously, they're putting more money in than that, but that gives you kind of a, would that be a fair example?
Yeah, I think so. But Tesla could be part of that portfolio, but it's going to be a part of a smaller percentage of the portfolio. Great example. Warren Buffett, people think Berkshire Hathaway, all those equities, he's got all his money in equities. That's why he's, one of the richest guys in the world. The reality is about 50 to 60% of your portfolio is in very safe and secure type of investments. And then he's taking maybe 30, 40% investing in those type of equity plays. And now he tends to be over just his overall portfolio. He's got a lot of exposure, obviously, to Berkshire Hathaway, but it's a misnomer to think that all of these very wealthy people, they're just gambling all the time. Generally, they're not, because they're more focused on legacy and protecting their money. That's why you don't see people fall off the Forbes 100 list very often, is because they're putting well-balanced portfolios together. They're still taking risks and still making great returns, but not in one given year. They can't be down 30 or 40% in their portfolio, then have to wait for 3 or 4 or 5 years to, quote, get back on that Forbes list. All right. Mm-hmm. So, but here's the cool thing about it. It doesn't mean that they're giving up performance. It just means a better structure of their portfolios and how they're actually designing them for more of a long-term play, as opposed to just trying to get the maximum return year over year.
I understand. So very, very good information. What kind of person should work with a wealth manager? Should everybody work with a wealth manager, or is there certain levels to this, or how is it best played out?
So if you're just starting off, there's a lot of things that you can do. Going to doing it yourself, going to the internet, using a lot of the AI tools now to maybe pick some things and design and start building some wealth. But like in our model at Hilton Tax and Wealth Advisor, first of all, the Hilton Family Office, generally 20 million and above, qualifies for our family office. Well, that's not everybody has $20 million, obviously.
Sure.
So our minimums in Hilton Tax and Wealth Advisor are about 500,000 in investable assets. But if you don't have that, then you should start trying to accumulate, get up to that point. And then I think when you get to that place, you definitely should have a wealth manager. Now, we tend to be a little biased and in saying that be with more of a holistic planner that can kind of tie everything together like a family office would do. Not a whole lot of them out there. That's why we saw opportunity in that space to educate people about these things. But once you get to a certain level, you should have some help, because it's going to be, if you've got good quality health people that really know what they're doing, then you're going to build that wealth a lot faster and a lot more efficiently.
That makes sense. I love that. So how does someone, there's a lot of people who don't invest. There's a lot of people who own businesses who don't invest. There's a lot of people who are scared of it. They think you're going to lose their money. They'll buy real estate or they'll buy different things, but they're not really set up for retirement. They're not really set up for generational wealth. How does someone even start? Where should someone start looking and thinking about getting into this type of a market?
Well, first of all, because we know I have a lot of business owners listening. And by the way, we're all business owners. All of my partners are in the Hilton companies. We run a lot of different businesses, so we understand the whole entrepreneurship, the business ownership aspect. Technically, that is investing, because if you looked at whatever your business is, that's a private equity. If you looked at it more of a terms of a traditional portfolio, that's kind of in that private equity bucket, that at-risk bucket of investing. So you are investing, and often if you've got a business that is running well and putting cash flow out, it's the greatest investment of your lifetime. Then you start looking at, so you grow the business, and then you start looking at generating enough cash flow to start investing in other things, and designing a good balanced portfolio that may have various type of investments. What we teach people is kind of a bucket concept, that you've got a bucket that's very safe, secure. You've got a bucket that generates kind of income that tends to be pretty safe too. And then you've got more of a managed money bucket that people are more used to kind of on the retail side. And then the final bucket is that private equity alternatives, which everybody's enamored with and wants to, know everything about. What offerings do you have in the private equity? But reality is that may only be 10 or 15% of your entire portfolio. Okay. So designing a well-balanced portfolio, again, once you get to certain points, I would say if you have a business that's generating 500,000, $1 million plus per year, and you have a profit, 100,000, 200 that you need to start investing, then you need to design a well-allocated portfolio. And then, of course, there's a myriad of types of investments that can go into that portfolio.
I love that. That's great information. So let's go back now, and let's say that somebody does have $20 million in investable money, because there's a lot of those people out there too. Right.
Sure.
They're not, maybe there's not as many, but there's still a lot of them. So when somebody has that kind of investable income or assets under management or whatever they have, how do they start working with you? What does that process look like?
Well, generally what we go through is a lot of people will come on board. They'll come through Hilton Tax and Wealth Advisors. We'll talk with them, see what level they're at. And we may, in fact, invite them to come into the Hilton family office. But that's generally after maybe we might start with them, maybe do some tax planning. We do a lot of, by the way, the Hiltons are the best really in the world at tax mitigation, and save them a bunch of money on their taxes. Then we can start moving into other realms. We get to know them, they get to know us, and then we might invite them into the family office. But we might work with them right away, also starting to design a portfolio or give them a kind of a risk and wealth assessment. How are you doing? Interestingly, kind of that period, that time frame of where people have a, say, net worth or investable assets in that 10 to $15 million range, I'd say 10 plus, is when people start transitioning from more of a retail based to, and we believe they need to. And when we educate people about that, they understand why, that you have to make that leap to more of a legacy type of planning, more of a family office concept, at least, where all the advisors are talking to each other. They're giving there's not an advisor over here that's giving you one piece of advice and then another giving you another piece of advice. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's trying to, those advisors trying to grab those dollars. It becomes more of a holistic type of endeavor. Now, realistically, what we're doing with Hilton Tax and Wealth Advisors, we're trying to kind of take that concept and bring it again more down to Main Street. Folks that have 500,000, a million, 2, 3, 4, 5 million, whatever, and get them to that place where they start building their wealth faster. The ultimate goal is, and we have transitioned a lot of people into the family office to where then they even have a more available to them, a myriad of more investment options, estate planning options, legacy options, private equity alternative options.
Very interesting. So let me just ask you this. If, Hilton, tax and wealth advisors, does that mean that if, somebody has a business and they're doing $10 million a year in revenue, they could come to you, or $5 million revenue, or whatever it is, but whatever dollar amount they're doing in revenue, they could come to your organization and you guys would prepare their taxes for them, show them where to save money. Mm-hmm. Basically like a traditional CPA firm. Are those the services that you're offering, or no?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So we do have CPAs but we outsource, and our model is to find the best CPAs really in the country that we can outsource to. And our model is truly, so we want to help people build their wealth more efficiently. So one of the greatest ways to do that is do advanced tax planning, where we can come in and layer strategies in. Like, we have over 100 different strategies, some proprietary, most are strategies that are deep dive code strategies that you don't get from your CPA, and your CPA doesn't really want to mess with. Most CPAs, they just want to do tax returns. They want to do compliance work and all of that type of stuff. Our bailiwick is doing advanced tax planning, where we're actually putting money back into your pocket, whether it's $50,000, $100,000, $1 million. We're working with a client right now to save him $6 million in his first year. So, and that is basically found money that can then go into producing a greater level of wealth. So a lot of times we'll start with the tax planning and then we'll move into wealth planning. But many times people say, hey, I'm good with my taxes. I'm not paying that much, because let's say maybe they have a lot of real estate and they're getting a lot of depreciation and they're not really that concerned about tax savings, but maybe they're concerned about wealth planning. What's happening over here with their portfolio, and they want to make sure that that's the most efficient as possible.
Okay. So you're looking at, so just so that I get it, what you're really saying is, you've got a little bit of wealth. We're the quarterback team, and we've worked with basically the best people in the world. We're started with the most successful, wealthiest people in the world. We work with the most successful people in the world. I love it. And we've got a lot of tricks and tips in the bag that the normal firm isn't going to have. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, to steal the Allstate commercial. Yes. And really what you're doing is you're looking at their financial picture and you're helping them with tax planning. So that might be things like cost segregation studies, captive insurance, 401ks, profit sharing, trusts, slats, all of that sort of stuff. You're saying this is your overall picture. this is what your investment looks like, and these are some places and things that you should do with these assets and these monies to protect them and to not pay out in taxes. Is that a good?
Well,
Is that close or
you
no?
use the analogy of the quarterback. That's an
Yep.
excellent analogy. We use that with our clients. They're the owner of the team. We're the quarterback. We're the combination of the quarterback and the coach. Okay. We're on the field with them, obviously, and we're making sure everything's, but we're also a coach to them too. And we're making sure we have all the right personnel that in the right slots on the field to make sure that that team is running efficiently. And everybody is coordinated and all on the same page. And any good football team has to have that, right?
Yep.
Most people, and I even see very wealthy people that come to us, they don't have a coordinated team. They don't have, again, people all talking to each other, have a coordinated strategy, a plan overall for every aspect of their finances. And again, I go back to the fact that we also found, and that's even worse on the retail side, that is all generally all just about stock picking, bond picking, investment picking. Let's pick the right stuff so we can make the most money here. And then let's just forget about all the other stuff because that's the most important thing. In reality, long term, it really isn't. But anyway, that's a great analogy that it's like a football team and just making sure that we have all the pieces in place so we can efficiently kind of move the ball down the field.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I think it is the right analogy. So do you look at things like, I mean, if you're working with an individual, do you recommend things like cost segregation studies, captive insurance, 401k profit sharing, trusts, investment strategies, real estate management? Does all that fall
All of this
into it?
because
Is
it's a
there more?
holistic approach.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All of those things you mentioned in tax planning, you've touched on some of the things and then some, because those are a lot of the regular things the general things that business owners know about. We're going deeper and we're doing some more advanced tax planning too. There are some proprietary things that we have available to our clients that aren't available anywhere else. And it's only because the Hiltons have been doing this for a long, long time. Obviously, things that stand out very, very well to the IRS scrutiny. But our biggest thing is what we talked to. I have another book called The Tax-Free Business Owner that is about, hey, what's the strategy to get to the zero tax bracket as soon as possible that almost every wealthy person is in. And by the way, it's always the misnomer. You hear, oh, that wealthy person's not paying. It's a political thing. That person's not paying any taxes. They're cheating everybody. They're doing all that. No, most business people, especially when they amass wealth, if they're not paying any taxes, it's deliberate and it's all within the codes. I always tell everybody, who made the codes? Generally, wealthy people made the codes. All the people in Congress, with the help of the IRS, all those people are very wealthy, and the codes actually can work to your benefit. The problem is most people are with CPA, and I even see very wealthy people that come to me. All their CPAs are doing is just doing their tax returns and saying, hey, put a little more money in your 401k, max out your IRAs, I mean, very simple, basic strategies, and aren't doing deep dives into the codes that are meant to be there to actually help them. It's not that it can't help people that aren't super wealthy. It's just that they don't know about those things. They don't have access to those things. And that's what we're trying to cure. Me and Brad Hilton are trying to fix, to bridge that gap so more people have access to these type of strategies, because we believe everybody could be in the zero tax bracket if they knew how to do that and how to get there. And now I don't confess that we get people there immediately when we start doing tax planning with them, but our goal is to, over time, get them to a zero tax bracket. And then ultimately the real goal is to plow that back into your wealth building to help you get, and I've mentioned before, get wealthier faster and more efficiently.
I love it. I think that's pretty impressive, what you guys are, building and what you're doing for people. Now, when you go through this process with someone, the truth is that the majority of the tax code, the majority of it is really written to help those who fall in line with what the government wants. So if you play ball with the government and you do what they want you to do, then there are benefits that you receive by doing that. It's all a system of controls, right? I mean, you do this, we're going to give you this. You do this, we're going to give you this. You do this, we're going to give you this. The majority of the entire tax code program is written to actually benefit the entrepreneur. It's actually meant to set you up to be successful if you follow it. That's my interpretation of it.
Absolutely. And why is that? Because when people hear that, they're like, what? Yeah, that just makes sense. I see the IRS and they're my enemy and all of that. And generally the IRS is, no one likes to get a letter in the mail that all leave. When you get a letter from the IRS and it's like, well, I sure hope this is about an address change, right? Or something along those lines, and that's it. But the reality is the codes are there to help because they're written mainly by business owners and entrepreneurs that have their families are in Congress. They're very wealthy. I mean, half of the Congress is ultra wealthy. We're in the ultra wealthy place. So those things are there to help us. The thing that I always tell people is you want the IRS or you would like the government to be your partner. But do you want them to be your partner that constantly does nothing but just take money from the partnership and take big chunks of money and you're just sitting there every year going, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this partner. They just keep taking money from me. Or do you want to utilize what that partner has set up for you and the laws, the techniques, the strategies to be a trusted partner, a good partner that is not going to be siphoning off tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year from you, which, by the way, taxes are the biggest expense of anyone's lifetime. So do you want them to be a good partner or do you want them to be a bad partner? I just make that analogy all the time, and I think people get that.
That's a great analogy. I sometimes think I don't want them to be a partner at all, but I don't have a choice. So since I don't have a choice in the matter, I'm going to go with let's be a good partner. But I love the insights that you guys have, and I think it's very smart, and I think it sounds pretty cool. Now, you mentioned earlier that there is some AI tools that help with that. What are some of those AI tools that people can latch onto?
Well, if they want to do maybe some things on their own, there's a new AI tool out there that I've really been pretty enamored with called Sylvia CFO. That is basically you put all of your assets in there. They don't have any control. They can't move assets around or anything, but it's an AI driven. Now do your own research. It's AI, you've got privacy issues, all of that type of thing. Sure. But you put all of your assets on the platform, and it's more of an accounting platform. And then there's AI attached to it that's specifically financial related. Now, we internally have a very similar system to that when somebody becomes a client, but I'm kind of just giving you a DIY. You can go to CFO Sylvia, and then you can ask a lot of questions about different investments. What do you think of my portfolio? How do things look? Okay. Now, that's not going to be a total holistic way of doing things, but at least it would help on the investment side. Okay. The other thing we're finding internally that AI is helping us with a lot of our private equity investments. For instance, we're building a software platform now that will primarily, first of all, go out to family offices that will help AI will be integral with actual investing strategies to help improve performance by, say, 1 or 2% per year. So there's more and more tools. It's going so fast. It's hard to keep up with this stuff, but I just highly recommend people don't poo-poo AI. the biggest thing, I'm not saying anybody is saying AI is not real or all of that, but a lot of people are like, I don't really know how that works, so I'm not going to figure it out. I think everybody should be, figuring out how to use Chat GPT, and not just having it do a Google search for you, but really diving in, spending, maybe a couple hours, 3 hours a week, diving in, learning it more, how it can benefit you in many different areas of your life, and obviously in the financial world too.
I love that. I think that's great advice. I think you've shared some incredible tips out here. So something that seemed pretty cool to me was that you were recognized as the Presidential Businessman of the Year, and you received a personal commendation from President George W. Bush. Was that senior or junior?
That's junior. Yes.
Okay.
And it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't senior. It wasn't that long ago. It was still a while ago, though. I was very fortunate. I had a company that was growing tremendously at that time, a financial services company, and was invited to the White House. Got to sit next to Dick Cheney in a round table, which was interesting. It definitely has an aura around him. And then got that from George Bush, President George Bush. So very, very proud of that. And but I think it's just a direct result of me personally, and the Hiltons too. And that's why I'm partnered with the Hiltons, and we're partnered together as we both have philosophies that we're here to try to make the world a better place and to try to help people the best we possibly can, and put the best tools together we can to again, help people build wealth more efficiently, give them more financial freedom and more, as they say, financial peace in their lives.
I love it. Now, working with the Hiltons, do you have any interaction with Paris Hilton?
So, there were a couple times I was supposed to meet Paris and have not. She was going to be at a couple events. So interesting story about Paris. Paris is actually Brad's cousin, and Brad knows her very well. And Paris is actually a very well-respected member of the family. She is kind of self-built her empire. She's worth a lot of money. And on top of that, she's everybody just across the board, when you talk to her, that knows her, that meets her, she's a good person. She's a very good person. But we still have, a lot of people still have that wild child view of her. She was crazy and nuts and all of that. But the reality is, very good business person.
Look she is an incredible businesswoman. I mean, she has basically built her own brand from the ground up. She is extremely intelligent. She is, if you want to look at an entrepreneurial success story, from what I've read, now I don't know her, so everything I say is going to be secondhand, but when you look at it, she was, from what I understand, it could be wrong, but she was kind of outcast from the family. Like, hey, look, we're not going to give you this wealth and she went out and, obviously she had the last name, but she built her own empire with her own bootstrapped and her own, just acumen, and she has just been, she is an incredible role model for anybody in business, at least in my mind.
Oh yes. And I think people need to just put those teenage years and everything out of their mind, because the reality is that she is arguably the most successful of the Hiltons right now. But something that's interesting, that people don't know this about the Hiltons, but most of the Hilton money through Conrad and Barron and various other Hilton that were involved with Hilton hotels went to the Hilton Foundation, which, by the way, does billions of dollars in great, incredible things on an annual basis. Brad has been on the board of the Hilton Foundation. And so most of the Hiltons that now are very wealthy have learned from their predecessors and other people in the family and have built their own wealth. So, and Paris is no exception. So, but the great thing is, and that's kind of, we're fortunate to be partnered with them, because then we're able to take those things that they've learned and pass them on. And again, that's what our passion is. That's what Brad's passion is to pass that on to as many people as possible to make sure that they understand and can learn these things and build their wealth more efficiently and easier, and just make it easier on themselves and not have to struggle with these roller coaster rides, the market's going up and down, and lose massive amounts of sleep at night.
No, I love it. I think it's fantastic. And you know, when I'm just even talking with you, I mean, you're very smart, very intelligent, very well spoken. You know, I seem you have, such a great amount of knowledge to offer anybody. I mean, not working with you guys seems to be silly. I mean, I didn't even know that this existed before the show, but
right, yes. Yeah.
I mean, just everything that you guys have, the wealth of knowledge, the breadth of knowledge, the history, and everything that you have, it's kind of cool. And then on top of that, it's kind of exciting to say like, oh, wow, I'm working with the Hilton family team on this, it's like, there's some little catch to that, right? It just has a cool ring to it, and it just sounds cool. And so that's kind of nice too. But it really seems like you guys have a good program.
Yeah, well, we tend to think the same. We're a little biased, but we try to do everything in the Hilton way. Very much under promise and over deliver, which Hilton has always done in their history, and keep that and uphold that. And like I said, our model is to just help people the best that we possibly can. And we just felt like people have missed out so much on, you could read a book about, from some of these wealthy people to say, this is kind of how you do it and everything, but it's just not the same thing of kind of being ingrained with a family, that actually, can, you come on board with and partner with, and then they kind of just bring you along at every step of the way. So it's we tend to be, I don't think in really, I mean, I don't say this in a, boastful way or anything, but I think what we've put together here, there's really no other firm in the country that has exactly what we have. And that's why we're growing so much. And our goal is to, with Hilton Tax and Wealth Advisors, is to, at some point, it takes a while, but at some point people will know the name. And instead of, thinking of Hilton as the Hilton hotels, they're going to then think of Hilton also as the financial guys that can help me with my finances. So,
I believe you'll accomplish it. I mean, I think it's incredible what you guys are building. Okay. So how does somebody work with you guys? What is that process? How do they get into the system? How does this happen?
Real simple. Just go to hiltonwealth.com. We have a way that the really good thing is to maybe order one of our books. We'll send it to you complimentary. The great news is they're only 100 pages long. No one wants to read a book now. We still have people, it's difficult to even get people to read a 100-page book, but it's better than 400 pages, right? And they can order a book and learn and kind of say, how can we do the things that we talked about today? Because often it's people aren't used to, and they hear these things and they think they're too good to be true. Well, in reality, they're things that the wealthy have been doing for hundreds of years. And that they can order a book, and then they can get on our schedules. Often I like to do the best I can to clear my schedule, actually talk with people personally.
Wow.
So if they want to, get with me and one of our wealth planners or our tax planners or whatever, we can get on, have a Zoom call and a little strategy meeting and see if there's anything that we can help them with.
It's interesting, the topic about reading the book. So look, if you can make a 400-page book about taxes interesting, you might get a Nobel Prize for this. Okay. Yes. Because that is a serious accomplishment. 100 pages seems right into the category. But it's interesting that you brought that up because, I love reading. I'm an avid reader, have been my whole life. And it's interesting because when I start my morning, I get this shot of MSNBC comes up on my web browser, right? Mm-hmm. And I hate this thing. It's usually filled with what's happening in Taylor Swift's wedding. And I pass it right by and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to hear about that. But, there was an interesting thing that says, a surprising hobby has quietly becoming a dating green flag. And they go on to read this article, and it's all about reading books. And it says in modern culture, books are boosting attraction, and reading has become a staple of dating app profiles, whether it's including your favorite novel as a prompt, stating your go-to genre, or specifying that you're looking for someone who talks about books. Reading is becoming an item on our good partner list. And it's interesting because it almost, when I read that article, I was actually taken aback by that because it doesn't seem like people are reading. But this article goes on to just talk about how, people are reading, and they're reading more, and they're looking for readers
That's
in their
good.
dating
Good.
profiles. And so that was interesting, right? Isn't that an interesting thing to come up?
Yeah, I'm a certified high performance coach. So, I work with some of our clients and things like that and helping them not just in finances, but their everyday life, which ironically our podcast is called True Wealth, which is about true wealth is not just amassing a bunch of money. It's about having a lifestyle and balance in your life and all of that. And one of the things that I think is massively important if you want to be a consistent high performer is to read. And it's becoming a novel thing right now. But when you still see the wealthiest people in the world, the most successful people in the world, not just even money wise, but people that are making a mark in the world in various areas, they tend to still be their readers. It not only do you get great information from incredible sources, but you train your mind and it helps discipline your mind. So, but at the same time, we understand that people are very, addicted to their phones and addicted to, 30-second, 3-minute videos and things of that nature. But I think people need to set aside time. And if it's even just once a quarter, and maybe you go on vacation or something and you go to the beach or whatever it is, and just say, hey, I'm going to read a book during that time. That can be massively helpful to your mental health, physical health, and ultimately, if it's things about wealth and everything, to building your wealth long term.
Yeah, I love that. I was watching an interview with Jamie Dimon, CEO of Chase Bank, and he was talking about what he reads, 6 newspapers or something like that every morning, pretty much, cover to cover in, specific sections and so forth, the magazines that he reads, the publications, how he does it. The first couple hours of his day are just spent reading. So,
yeah, you'll find that's a common habit throughout. If you look at high performers, people that, again, really make a mark in the world, whether it's money standpoint or social standpoint or whatever, they tend to have routines, whether it's in the evenings or mornings, where they're consuming something, they're actually physically reading.
Dude, I love it.
That's huge. It's huge.
I think you're spot on with that advice. I love what you've given there. All right. So we've got, we're coming down to the end here. It's been a great show. We've just got a couple of more questions left. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see, folks making? What are some of the biggest things entrepreneurs need to understand about, building? What are some of those mistakes, and what are some of the solutions? Or I guess, what's the top mistake and top solution that you see?
Well, when we look at from an investing standpoint, let's just go there. You'll see these studies done all the time. The average retail investor makes about 2% per year. Why is that? Because we're emotional human beings. And I just did a podcast on this about the mindset and how the mind, your biggest enemy really in investing in wealth accumulation, is your own mind and yourself, your emotions, and not being able to control those emotions. So the wealthiest people in the world, they're able to be disciplined, think long-term, and control that up and down. So the reason why retail investors, most average investors, struggle a lot is because they're on that roller coaster ride. Hey, it's great when things are going well. Like, we've had a lot of years where things have gone pretty well. Our last real downturn was in 2022. But there were a lot of people that were on track, and then they're down 30 or 40% in their portfolio, and they quit, or they get discouraged or whatever. So, and again, I think the biggest mistake they make is just letting those emotions overwhelm them, and be in the wrong, kind of the wrong structure, so to speak. And they can't help but being overwhelmed and can't get that long-term traction that they need.
I love that. I think that's spot on. All right. Well, this has been a great show. And I guess since we're talking about the Hiltons and you're part of this incredible organization that you guys are building together, and you've done so much, and it's just, it's just an inspiring, company. You think of Hilton, you see it everywhere. I mean, that's the hotel. It's a nice hotel, always a nice hotel. Always, great accommodations. It's just a household name, if you will. And, before we end, it would just be a miss on my end, if you didn't share something, if you didn't share something that was inspiring, in terms of building wealth and dynasty, from the Hilton playbook.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and Brad has a lot of stories about his grandfather, but I'm going to tell you one story about Conrad. So Conrad was doing very, very well. He had an incredible origin story, rags to riches, all of that. But then he came up upon the Great Depression. And he had the opportunity to go into bankruptcy, wipe the slate clean. And at the time, his main debtors were actually insurance companies. And he made the decision the hard decision to go the hard road, and said, I am not going to default on things. I'm not going to declare bankruptcy. I am going to work with you all. And actually made, with his debtors, made a deal and said, I will continue to run my hotels, but you need to work with me. And I promise you, give me 5 years. I will get us out of this hole, and I will continue to build. I will continue to be great partners with you. And I promise you, I am there for the long haul. And he was a man of his word. And the rest is history. If he would have declared bankruptcy then, I'm not sure that the Hilton would be the Hilton of today. Probably not, because it would have been a whole different path that he went under. Instead, he did it all out of integrity. And I think the biggest lesson there is about his persistence. He stuck with what he knew was right and the right thing and the best thing to do. And then it ultimately paid massive dividends and made Hilton what Hilton is today.
Wow. That is, that is a phenomenal story. I did not know that, but that is a phenomenal, inspiring story. I feel like I have to close the show with that. I don't feel like we can continue moving forward in any more questions, because it'll just take away from that powerful story that you shared. So I really love that you brought that. Are you on social media? Is the group on social media? How can people follow you? I know how they get in touch. They go to the website, they fill it out, but if they want to follow on social media, can they do that?
We're on LinkedIn. We're on, of course, our the Hilton True Wealth podcast is just launched in the last few months, and is doing very, very well on YouTube and Spotify. And sometimes I don't know all these social media things. I'm an older guy, but we're pretty much out there on everything. We've gotten really good responses back. I'd love for people to go and check out the True Wealth podcast, subscribe. And we don't have a ton of subscribers yet, but we will. We're working on that. And we've got massive, really good feedback from the guests we've had and what we've been doing. So anyway, check us out on social media. We're all over, and you can learn more about us.
Awesome. Are you on LinkedIn at all?
Yes, also on LinkedIn too.
Okay.
Me and many of our employees, and Brad Hilton is there. You can learn more about us on LinkedIn also.
Okay. check that out. If you're listening, check it out. Connect with them on LinkedIn, connect them on social. Check out the podcast. Get in there. Dive into it. Sounds like an amazing show. I know I'm going to check it out. I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to hit the subscribe button, listen, pick up those tips every single day I possibly can. I love it. Mark, sir, final question of the day. We've got a large billboard, whiteboard on the side of the freeway. You can have one word, one sentence, one phrase. What do you want to share with the world before we call it a night?
For your entrepreneurs, the big word would be persistence. Keep doing it. Just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, no matter what walls are in front of you. That's the word I'd put up there.
I love it. I think that's a fantastic word. Mark, thank you so much. This has been the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott. We are back 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single Tuesday. If you like this show, give us a like, give us a share, drop your comments in the comment box. We'd love to hear what you're thinking. And follow Mark, hook up with him on LinkedIn, hook up with the team on LinkedIn, follow the podcast, get in there, spend some good quality time learning and investing, and take your business to this incredible company. I mean, I gotta say, these guys are amazing. I love the tips and the tricks, and I got to become a customer. I got to get in on these tips myself. Like, if I'm on the show, I got to dive into this, and I'm super excited to do that. So I hope I get to do my one-on-one with you, Mark. That'll be exciting, and we'll look forward to the next time we talk.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Every CEO's journey has its Everest. The moments when the path forward feels steep, uncertain, and alone. With Sherpa CEO coaching, you don't climb alone. Our experienced coaches are your guides, helping you break through barriers, sharpen your strategy, strengthen your leadership, and build a team that can carry you higher. With tailored one-on-one coaching, strategic planning, and real accountability, your summit is within reach. Sherpa CEO Coaching, your guide to confidence, clarity, and extraordinary business growth. Get coached and learn more at sherpaceo.com.